Joe. It's in the library, so you come to
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with the administration, the oath of office to re-elected board members.
Forward, and Mr. Cole.
Mr. Cole, Judge.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So good.
I'll answer anything. Okay, just repeat after me. I, Ron Cole,
I, Ron Cole,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Lily. That's good, I got signed. Well, we do this every day.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I mixed these up, so I wasn't sure who was in order first, but Jennifer, I'm going to have you come up. So, my apologies if I don't have the right order. Congratulations. Repeat after me. I, Jennifer Riley,
I, Jennifer Riley,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations. Thank you. Felicia. Congratulations. I, Felicia Kmetz,
I, Felicia Kmetz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Jamie. Congratulations. Okay. I, Jamie Elsing,
I, Jamie Elster,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
then that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is, thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, congratulations, everybody. At this point, I'd like to move to the temporary recognition president. Nominations are open.
I nominate Ron Cole.
I'll second it. Any other nominations? All right. Nominations closed. Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Mr. Petrini. And
Oh, we have to vote?
Yeah, you have to vote on it. That was just the nomination. not a-
Oh, so recommend that Ron Cole be elected as a temporary reorganization president.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, Mr. Cole.
thank you, Mr. Petrini. And now we'll open up nominations for the election of school board president this time.
I nominate Joe Petrie.
Joe? Oh, I don't think Uncle Joe's been on the board for a while.
Sorry about that. I had young Joe come at my.
Gotcha.
The meeting.
So we have a nomination for Mr. Petrini. Any other nominations? Motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
saying aye.
Aye.
Now we'll recommend that Pete Quattrini be elected as 2022 president of the Sayre Area School District Board of Education. And we'll need a roll call vote, but first we'll need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes.
Ms. Aislinn?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa?
Yes.
Mr. Gandy?
Congratulations.
No.
Thank you very much, both. So we'll move with election of school board vice president. Nominations are open.
Is that still on?
Is that still on? I think it's still you, Ron.
Oh, it's not still
No,
up.
push back.
Oh, go back to me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nominations are open. School board vice president.
Okay.
I nominate Ron Cole.
Okay. Any other nominations? Nominations be closed. Motion and a second.
Make motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we recommend that Ron Cole be elected as 2022 Vice President of the Sayre Area School District Board of Education. Motion and a second on that, and then a roll call vote.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
We'll begin with Ms. Olson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Ms. Kmet?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa?
Yes.
Mr. Quattrini?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Abstain.
Mrs. Agnew?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, with that, thank you very much, Mr. Cole. Thank you, everybody. I guess before we move forward, I'd like to call for a quick discussion for board committees. Go right ahead, Dr. Bolzio.
So in front of you, you'll see the subcommittees for the board is laid out for the entire board and everyone who currently is on it. If you want to remain on the committee that you're already there on, please put a check mark next to your name. If you'd like to add yourself to a committee, please put your name there as well. And if you're interested in chairing one of those committees, put a check mark or a star next to your name. And then we'll collaborate all this information and have it ready for the board to vote on in January. And just so I can make sure I have a copy from everybody, if you put your initials at the top of the page, so I know I've got a form from everybody. That's all, and then I'll collect those at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
The last thing on this agenda, the adoption of the 2022 Board of Education meeting schedule. I'd like to recommend that the 2022 Board of Education meeting schedule be adopted as presented in Exhibit A.
I'll make that a motion.
So I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion?
I'd like to discuss that.
Sure, go ahead, Ms. Olson.
Currently, the schedule conflicts with a lot of other local municipality schedules. And I think given that we have a policy which purpose is for the school district officials to maintain our harmonious relationship with the local municipalities, there would be some discussion of moving that first Monday of the month.
you suggest?
I would suggest that we move, I mean, there's potential different options, but we move the first meeting of the month to a Wednesday. 'Cause currently, there's no local municipalities that use that time. For the ones that fall on a regular.
Anybody else have any discussion? Wednesdays don't work for me. I'm a assistant scoutmaster and that would, the Wednesdays are my days for there.
Would Tuesday work?
It's fine, it's gonna, they will overlap other committees unfortunately, so.
I mean, that's kind of where we're at, right?
Right, and
Everybody
then,
does the first
yeah.
Monday of the month, so.
Yeah.
Would Tuesdays work for you, Jamie?
I mean, they all work for me. I'm just trying to facilitate some, working with local municipalities. Currently, it's not really a possibility to do that with the way our schedule is.
We have 3 Tuesdays scheduled already because they're around holidays, right?
That's correct. I am asking for January 4th because the 3rd is the first day back, and so we need that day to put the agenda together and push out to everybody because we won't get it done before Christmas. But the ones on the 18th and April and September 6th are after holidays. Yes, Mr. Shaw.
Could we split them up and do half the meetings on Mondays and half on Tuesdays?
Whatever the pleasure of the board is.
Like I said, I know we've always done it and I understand what you're saying, Jamie. But no matter what we do, it's gonna conflict with somebody's schedule.
Well, actually, I have it all processed now.
Yeah, like I said, I understand what you're saying, but it's gonna conflict with somebody one way or the other, unfortunately.
We've never had a complaint that I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's
Nobody's
what I
ever
mean,
complained about
always.
it. I don't know what.
Well, just with the Litchfield school, I think it would be advantageous to be able to attend Litchfield township meetings, since I know there's been talk of collaboration there.
Yeah, I'm for that, but like I said, I still think no matter what, it's gonna conflict, like, Pete is the president, he can't even do Wednesday, so, you know what I mean? So we just try to leave it like it is for the most part.
I mean,
Unless
I think
something different
Tuesdays,
comes
does
up.
anyone, for the first meeting of the month, Tuesday?
I have conflict.
It's a, fire department. I can't see changing it, that's what the rest of the board feels.
Well, I have a motion and a second to approve this schedule. We've had some discussion on the table. If there isn't any other discussion, I guess we can vote on this. And if it doesn't pass, then we can change the schedule or we can table it and create another motion, but does anybody else have any more discussion on this? So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Yeah,
What's the motion for to pass the?
to pass this current schedule. Yeah, I believe,
I can't.
Oh, the current schedule.
the current schedule, yeah.
As I say.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ron Cole and
Jim Shaw.
Jim Shaw. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. So yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn on this agenda.
Motion.
I have a motion. Second? And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Exec session.
All right, we have a request for an exec session. It'll be a quick 5-minute exec session, so if you guys can wait out in the hall for us and,
We can go to that other room. They don't have to.
Oh, we
I
can
have
go to
that
the other
room
room?
set up. Yeah, I have another room set up.
okay.
it's a skew that would be over there.
Consent agenda.
And then that is like that.
Whatever the conference.
Oh, that's discussion part. So like for yours, you're gonna put a motion for everything under
I was
instruction
gonna say, yeah.
to, approve everything under instruction.
Johnny, yeah.
You need to pledge again.
No. All right, we'll move on with our regular meeting. Thanks for our little interruption. We had an executive meeting to talk about personnel, especially the person on the list tonight to be terminated, so that's what we're talking about. So with that, I'd like to recognize any resident or taxpayer of this area school district wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter, concern, or interest properly raised in the public session. Ms. Shevardini, how are you doing tonight?
So I have a question, and you're not supposed to refer to employee matters, but this isn't necessarily directed at a specific employee. So on the agenda item tonight, I see that we are hiring or recommending someone be hired for the athletic director position. So my question is that a paid position? And if so, how many applicants we may have had? And with all due respect to Mr. Claypool's it's not meant for Mr. Claypool, I'm sure he knows that. I'm just curious how we could hire an already employee to do another full-time position. You look at the other local school districts, and they are, an athletic director is a full-time position. So I'm failing to comprehend, I know we've done it in the past, but how we can hire someone who already has a full-time position to do another full-time position, and they're certainly not being compensated for additional full-time work.
Can I answer those questions? Yep, you're good?
Yeah.
So we received 3 applications, 2 were internal and 1 was an external applicant. We interviewed all applicants. The position is a paid position. It has always been part-time here in Sayre, is my understanding. From my previous experience in my previous life as a building principal, we had an athletic director that was part-time in a school district that had thousands of students. It was about a half of a day. It was part of that person's work. I don't know about other school districts. If I didn't look into what other school districts do, I do know that there is a local athletic director that has other job duties listed with theirs along with athletic directors. And I'm not recalling right now, unless Mr. Claypool you do, I think the annual salary was posted on the original advertisement at $13,500. Cambria is nodding her head, so thank you. Yeah, so it's an addition to, and the former athletic director was employed with us full-time and did that position as an add-on, as a stipend position, as well did others from my shorter history here. Okay?
And I understand that.
Yep.
I'm just curious because it is a full-time role, and it just seems to me that it would conflict with your regular full-time position, and as it is intended to be a full-time role because there's a lot of time in the evenings and the nights, as it is a full-time position for a good portion of the year, it's intended to be that way, then certainly it conflicts with your role, and it just certainly isn't being compensated for a full-time position.
Thank you, Mr. Shevardini.
Mr. Petrini,
Yes, sir.
there's only 2 schools in our league that have full-time athletic directors, Danny. Wanda and Athens. Everybody else is
Correct.
part-time.
Look,
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ms. Shevardini? Anyone else? All right.
Yes, I'll ask mine. My name is Kate Smith, and I live at 304 Red Hopkins Street. Going along with Tammy's question, I had some issues with a sport this fall, and I had reached out to Mr. Felt and he never got a message back, and didn't know who to go to beyond that. So I was just wondering, how are we
a chain of communication, and I apologize that you were not responded to in a timely manner. If you do reach out to their first point of contact, whether it be a coach or the athletic director, and they don't respond to you, you should contact the building principal. If that person doesn't respond to you, then you should reach to me. That would be your third point of contact. It's the same at the elementary building. If you have a classroom and or something going on with, say, a rec at that building, if you can't get a hold of that coach or that individual, you reach out to Mrs. Morel. She responds. If she doesn't respond, then you reach to me. So we make sure that those responses do come out. So I do apologize that you didn't get responded to, but in the future, go ahead and reach out and we'll make sure that you get the information you need.
I just, for me, it was like, I didn't know that Randy had stepped down, so it was like it came out in the news, and it was like, oh, so now who do I go to?
Right.
My second question is more about how we're handling children that have been put on quarantine for several days to weeks at a time. I know that an email just came out to the parents about how we're going to be doing asynchronous learning with any snow days. And I'm just concerned that we're not supporting our children by giving them an opportunity to make up learning or having, classes available online. And not necessarily Zoom classes, but, we have the ability to record classes and then children can view them at a later time. So I just didn't, I obviously have been here to be able to ask these questions, and I just thought it was a time.
So that's a really good question. Some of the information that comes out, I know we probably need to reissue some of that information as well. So when a student is on quarantine or they have received a positive COVID test and they are quarantined for that period of time, teachers have been asked or told to put an assignment and a lesson on the Google. So whether it's a recording of themselves or it's a video from a different website that they want to, so that a lesson is received, as well as an assignment for the student to do to turn it in for credit for them. So teachers do have the option to record themselves if they want to do that.
I just know that I have friends who had children that were quarantined for over 2 weeks. And last marking period, they were unable to make up time, the work they missed, so their grades reflected poorly because of that.
So if those assignments are not available, I would ask that you that person reach to the teacher. If they don't get a response, reach to the building principal, and the same through that chain, so that we can make sure that that does happen for students. Those assignments are to be out there in the Google Classroom.
So
Okay?
even-
And not just an assignment, but a lesson that coordinates with the assignment. Okay.
Yeah, because I was gifted a trip, and I'm taking my daughter, and that's my other opinion. I want her to be, she's taking very high level classes this year, and I want her to be able to stay up on her assignments. And I just, I know that I talked to the guidance counselor last year before the school year ended, and she was like, I don't really know how it's going to be handled next year. I don't know if we're going to be doing Zoom classes. And she said, we'll work on it when it comes up, basically. And now, we're getting to that point, and it's like there's no options at all. Whether you're quarantined or taking a trip or, an educational trip or anything to keep up. So I just wondered what my options were.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Anybody else? I'd like to recommend the board approve the minutes of the meeting held November 1st, 2021 as presented in Exhibit A. Have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Instruction, Mrs. Agnew.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the board to approve A1, B1, C1, D1, and 2, and 3. That's a motion. All of instruction and other.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So for athletics and recreation, I'd like to recommend A1 and 2.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Finance, Mr. Hickey.
I would like to make a motion that the bills for payment listed in Exhibit B be ratified and approved as presented. Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, roll call? Sorry, just asking. Thought you said yes.
I just meant yes, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes, except I abstain on number 4, please.
Mrs. Baszler?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Riley? Yes. Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon?
Yes.
Mr. Petrini?
Yes. Is that all of them, Mr. Hickey?
That carry?
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Can't hear
sorry.
this thing. so-
Sorry.
We're on it.
I can't lip read either.
I'm on it, Andrew.
I couldn't have had a mask on.
I've been texted, so we're gonna try to get this shut off, so we can hear a little better.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the transfers listed in Exhibit C be approved as presented.
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, motion to recommend that the taxes listed in Exhibit D be approved as presented.
Second.
You have a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the treasurer's report is in Exhibit E, don't need to vote on that. Make a motion to recommend that the board approve the transportation contracts for the 2021-2022 school year as presented in Exhibit F.
Roll call.
Do I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
We'll begin with Mrs. Ashley.
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mrs. Betts? Ms. Riley? Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpon?
Yes.
Mrs. Agnew?
I abstain.
Mr. Petrini?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the board approve the addition of the 8th grade student trolley activity fund effective 12/1/2021.
Do I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second? Mrs. Riley. Any discussion?
Any background on it? Yeah.
Yes, actually, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Handrick. We had a group of students that presented, a group of 4 students that presented to myself, Mr. Handrick, and Mr. Claypool. So I'd like him to share some information about that before the board votes.
It's kind of driven by one of our 8th grade classes, and it's something that they wanted to do for school spirit and a little bit of PBIS, or positive behavior support. And they actually are going to, they kind of Shark Tank, like pitched an idea to us much like they would on Shark Tank. And I don't want to give too much away because I'm going to bring them in either in January or February once they have it up and running. And it's going to be self-sufficient, but they're going to sell a few items. Some stuff they'll get with tickets. you know, that you get for doing good deeds or, you know, being a leader, showing, you know, positive qualities, other stuff you can purchase. They surveyed the kids. They've got it laid out. They did a real nice job with it. I'm excited to see what they come up with. The initial outlay is about $500, but we talked and we wanted it kind of fun to keep it kind of going out, continuing so that you know, they're going to have some money going in and out. That's why we had to create the account instead of just buying the trolley. Is that?
Yeah, that's good, so if I
how-
can just add to that.
how much is it?
Just say again?
How much?
They're asking for a seed money of $500 for them to get it started. And the students came up with the plan themselves, and then they researched all of the products that they want to put on it for the kids. It's only for 7th and 8th grade floor. So we have a teacher that wants to support these students to do it, and those 4 students came forward and really did all of the legwork, put together a PowerPoint presentation, and came down and shared that information with us for us to help them get it started. And so if we approve that, then they'll, once we get things up and running, then they'll come back to the board in January or February and present everything as they're moving forward.
And they have an advisor?
They do, they have a support staff member, it's, yeah, not as an advisor, but a support staff teacher that's willing to help them, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And now, as they go forward now, is this something that they're going to continue to move forward as their class goes on? Or is this just going to be for 7th and 8th grade?
At this point, it would stay for 7th and 8th grade. School-wide, it would be a little bit more of a bigger endeavor. But yeah, for right now, it would stay in 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, in hopes that that the next classes will pick that up.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
So as, Ron, good question, as a part of their plan, when they presented to us, the 4 8th grade students that put the presentation together, they then went to mentor 4 7th grade students that would take it over next year and would remain in 7th and 8th grade, and then continue that process. And they had that all laid out for us when they met with us. It was quite impressive.
Is there any tie to FBLA at all?
So the tie is the PBIS program, the Positive Behavior Intervention System. So students earn tokens or coupons to go and use that on the trolley, and some things could be at cost. And that's how they'll replenish what's on there.
And we're seeding.
We're just the first time in.
Now, can we seed that with foundation down there?
We could, and we mentioned to the group that there is a foundation that, you know, it is within the district that they could go for that. But we did budget some money for incentives this year, so it's not like it's not budget purchase.
Okay.
Well, that's a good thought too, Donnie. We actually told them about the foundation grant and how they could go about applying for it in the future.
Okay.
They're not going to solicit local businesses or anything, right?
No. Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to recommend the board approve the termination of employee number 1405, effective November 17th, 2021.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to recommend the board approve the resignation of Kara Kochi as a senior class advisor effective October 10th, 2021.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say, she's done a great job as a senior class advisor. The years that she's taken us on there, I appreciate this work.
Just did a lot of work for a lot of kids.
Like, yeah, she's a hard worker. We're really good senior.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to recommend the board adjust Randy Felt's previous resignation date of November 28th as athletic director to December 5th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just want to say, I appreciate Randy stepping forward. It's doing what he had to do in this position. Just want to say thank
Nicole. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, you can just take the rest as a motion, yeah.
All right, so I'd like to recommend number 4, A, B, C, D, 5A, 6AB, 7A, and 8A.
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
We're doing all of them in one motion?
All of them, yeah. You have to abstain. Should we do a roll call? Donnie, you have to abstain from,
No, it's not,
that's not paid?
yeah, it's
Okay.
not paid.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Policy review, Ms. Agnew?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the board approve D1 and D2. So motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And Pete, I think going forward, I guess I'd recommend, the ones we talked about earlier, anything that we can take a motion like that on, or, we'll put it under consent agenda, that way, call it consent agenda, that way everybody knows we're gonna do it all in one shot,
One time,
one time.
not each section.
Not each thing, you can put it all under, and then if anybody wants to pull any item out for discussion, you can pull it out separately, but it's more of an act of, I want to pull that one out, as opposed to debate. So it's just a way that those things that don't really need discussion can get handled very quickly.
Thank you, Mr. Scripon. No, so we were trying to run a consent agenda form. So instead of skipping, we were just putting them all together.
They were all together. Yeah.
It's hard to hear down here.
Yeah, it is. It's just-
Yeah, I
Hard
know.
to hear with those blowers.
Next time.
Next time,
Put that
yeah.
on your list, Mrs. Morel. Get a hold of Mr. Munger. Get the blowers turned off so we can hear.
I sent him a text. I'm not sure anybody's in the building right now that can turn it down, but.
I mean, that's just.
It's on my list.
All right, so we do have some discussion topics. We'll start with the follow-up for the music department discussion.
So I would like to share with the board and the community members that are here and those that are online that I was able to meet with the 4 students and the administrative team and the 2 music teachers following the last board meeting. We had a really good discussion and came forward and had some brainstorming and put some things in place. So I do want to come back and just share, band course at the elementary school was put on hold due to COVID at the beginning. We were holding, I know that at the elementary school, they're still not back in full use of the cafeteria, which limits the amount of close contacts that Mrs. Morel has at the elementary building because you can get 6 feet in your classroom settings during the school day. The option for kids to have either recess or instrumental lessons presented, I want to make sure that you have instrumental lessons happens once every 5 days. So if I'm a trombone player and I go to Mrs. Gillette for my lesson on day 3, then on 1, 2, 4, and 5, I have recess with my class. So it's not a choice of missing recess for all 5 days. It's 1. And when we looked at the schedule of the 15 or 16 groups of lessons, do you remember how many groups? It was 2 or 3.
Believe it,
It was
I was gonna
not
say it was
everybody
2 or
that's an
3.
instrumentalist. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that information as well.
And not for the entire recess as well.
Correct, it's for a portion of the recess.
Correct.
So, what's happened since the meeting that we had in early November, Mrs. Morel worked with Mrs. Gillette and they found time in the schedule without adjusting too many things. That band will happen for 5th grade, once every other week.
Correct.
And 6th grade, once once every other week. So
Correct.
that they will come together as a group of instrumentalists and play for the remainder of this year, and then we'll build it into the schedule next year. I did follow up with Mrs. Gillette individually, and then I followed up also with Mrs. Forbes as the band, the Music Booster president, and she and I actually met today. The upperclassmen that came and presented to the board last month, they're going to work with the band members, the upperclassmen, those students that have study hall and access to a vehicle here at school, get permission from their parents, periodically are going to go over and demonstrate their lessons or demonstrate their instrument to the students at the elementary school, specifically in 3rd and 4th grade, to entice them before they get to 5th grade and play a lesson. So that was an idea that they came forward with. They also shared other things that they do for the current elementary students that I was not aware of. I didn't have all those fine details, but they invite the current 6th grade students that play an instrument to walk in the parades with them. They don't play their instrument, but they get the experience of walking in the parade with them, and they did get to do that this fall, as well as invite the elementary instrumental students to sit with them in the stands during one of our home games. And so they get that feeling as well before they would come over for 7th grade. So that was really a lot of good things that were happening. So in the future, so not just this year, but what do we want to do for next year, kind of long term, just as some of the conversation that happened. We really want to look to have Mrs. Gillette teach the 4th grade students general music so that in the springtime, she can really present some of the instruments that are available for students to start taking lessons in 5th grade. She currently teaches 5th grade general music, so we're going to slide her back to 4th grade and have her in that spot for the upcoming school years to entice students to increase. And then we're still looking for other ideas and thoughts. There's other things out there, so I just wanted to follow up with the board to share what's happened over the course of the last month from that discussion when the students came to present. Okay? Any questions or thoughts or any other ideas that came to mind?
And just the chorus started as well in 5th and 6th grade with Mrs. Vaughn on the opposite week. So the week that band does not meet, those kids meet with Mrs. Vaughn to do chorus. So it alternates every other week in 5th and 6th grade.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's great. I'm glad you guys found a way to make that work, so it's really awesome. So, those kids put on a nice presentation.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Athletics.
Yep. So we just wanted to have some discussion with the board about the current state of athletics here at Sayre and what the board would like the administration to work on. So we'd like to do some conversation about just some goal setting and brainstorming, and we don't have to finalize anything tonight, but just to have some conversation. We know there's a lot of change happening in athletics, and is there anything from the board level that you want us to really investigate and bring back and or look into for athletics?
Well, I know for me, and I'm going to kind of echo Ms. Smith, it's the communication side of athletics that I think is frustrating. Not everybody has Google Classroom, not everybody does Facebook, not everybody looks at the website. So, and I don't know, I just found pictures from my oldest student still in school in the bottom of his book bag yesterday. So class pictures are in the bottom there, so are all the athletic forms, So I don't know, we just got to find a better way to communicate. Because I think there are kids that are interested in being involved in getting out there. They just can't do it. And I know, the computer software that we use is about as friendly as filling out a FAFSA form, so.
Family ID.
Family ID, that's it, yeah. So, I mean, once you filled it out the first time, it's not bad from year to year, but that first initial, so I don't know if we have those 7th and 8th grade kiddos, the 5th and 6th grade, to do it old-fashioned by paper, and then we have meetings with. So I'd like to see some of that communication brought in, and help parents out with that family ID.
I agree with Mr. Petrini. How is family ID going, Mr. Andrew?
I think fairly well. Mrs. Abbey will walk anybody through it that has any trouble. It is the first time through, and we have had some parents call. She can fill most of it out for them and with them, but there are a few pages where they do have to. It's considered an electronic signature, so they do have to do a few pieces themselves. It's just like signing a legal document that they would used to have to sign to.
I mean, maybe it'd be great instead of trying to get people to do it one at a time, because I know, she's awesome to help people through it, but like the first night, hey, swimming's gonna start this night, parent meeting, family ID, right, figure it all right out and have it. You know, we could send that out skyward or something instead of relying on our teenagers to bring it home in their book bag. I don't know.
Yeah. We did have one night in the fall, and Randy and she and I'm gonna whiff on who the third person was. It was one of the coaches, and they waited for an hour and a half, and we didn't get anybody to show. Doesn't mean we shouldn't do it again, but you know, we have tried that route.
No, and I get that, right? And the kids always sign up on the very last day, right? Or the day after. We've never said no, but yeah, we gotta.
Gotta make that day earlier so that we can make the decisions. How many times have we run into not having enough last minute, so they've got to sign up early.
Right, and then you don't know, and then you get 12 or 13, and then day one comes, and now you're down to 9.
I think we
He's
also
gonna
have to
pretend he didn't.
reevaluate how many sports we offer at Sarah High School. And as you know, some of us know that we co-op with Athens for soccer and for swimming. We have a dwindling number, so does every other school in the NTL. I think we need to reevaluate that, how many we offer.
But yeah, I agree, Jim. I think something the athletic committee really has to dive into and to move forward. And
For instance, we offer 4 fall sports for boys, and we're a small school. And then the talent gets spread out over those 4 teams. Right? And I think we're the only one in the league that offers both sports. With our size.
yeah, I agree.
That's a good thing to evaluate and take a look at. We should compare that to our enrollment, do a comparison to our enrollment.
And then see if we have to expand. I mean, there's other neighboring districts, you know, in Northeast.
Yeah, they're in the same boat.
We're in the same boat.
Okay, so I have down for, improved communication for the area of athletics, help with family ID, maybe having a sign-up night where we have the beginning of every season of the 3 seasons of sports, where we have an evening where parents can come in and do the filling out of the paperwork and/or online with support here, and then really investigating how many sports we should offer in all 3 seasons for the enrollment size that we are as a school district. Anything else you want us to take a look at and investigate?
How's the handbook as far as athletics? Is that something that's contained within family sign up, handbook, and how often is that updated?
The student handbook or the,
The
Athletic handbook.
right, but for students or for coaches?
For students and for coaches?
Coaches still get a binder. They have Mrs. Abby puts together a binder for them, and they have their handbook there. The student handbook, some of it's online. We've updated that. Hasn't had a comprehensive review in probably 4 or 5 years, but as things change, we make revisions to it just about yearly, as things change. So it's had some updates, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But does it get evaluated every year? Maybe that's.
I wouldn't
Revised?
call it an evaluation, I would call it a review
Or
and an
revision, yeah.
update. We haven't done a comprehensive deep dive into that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Does it get reviewed? I mean,
It gets reviewed every year and updated, but it doesn't have we've not done a comprehensive deep dive into it
okay.
in the last couple of years.
I know in the past, the 7th graders, when they're coming to the high school, at the end of their 6th grade year, there's a time where parents were able to, and I know COVID has changed everything, but there was a time where parents were able to come with the kids and tour the school, and then a lot of the groups that we have here, like
blend together. I mean, recreations is kind of the next topic, and it's, I think some of the things we talked about with athletics.
Communication. Yep.
Does anybody have anything to add with recreation?
I think we need better communication about recreation as well. I've had complaints from parents, nobody seems to know what's going on for the individual sport, whether it's wrestling, basketball, swimming, whatever it is. I think we need better communication on that from our recreation director.
Some definite outlines, I think, of what it is. You know what I mean? Like, this is recreation basketball. It's not NTL. It's not league play. It's not travel play. It's recreation. There's got to be some specific what you're signing up for, so there's no confusion. Anything else for recreation? The last topic. Cool.
There it is, yeah. So I did send communication out to families that December 8th, coming 2 days from now, Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is reviewing the mask mandate and what that will be. My recommendation will be to go back, if they lift the mask mandate, to allow it to be a family decision, again, like we had at the very beginning of the year. If you are not wearing a mask, we will be putting a communication out. We have things prepped and ready to go, but we're kind of waiting to see what it's going to be, if they're going to hold it and leave it till January 17th, or if they're going to lift the mask mandate come Wednesday. I don't have any inside information on what that's going to be, but we do have communication prepped and ready to go for families. If they do lift the mask mandate and it becomes optional for families, that does change the close contact list from 3 feet to 6. If Deb and I are both wearing masks, then it's 3 feet. But if I don't have a mask on and she does, it's a 6 feet rule under the CDC guidelines and PDE and the Department of Health and all of those, as we're following those. So I wanted to share that information. And again, we have those communications out. We put it together in a letter for Q&A, frequently asked questions with bulletin information, so it'll be easy to read. We will send it out via Skylar, as well as put it on our website as a reference for people to go back to and look for the information. Just on Friday, I received information from Pennsylvania Department of Education on a program that they're called the Testing and Stay Program. So Mr. Claypool and I, we were looking deeply at the assurance form today. We were looking at the information that they were providing for a test and stay program for identified close contacts. So as we acquire more information about that, it would be a rapid test, and it would be something that would be, again, family optional. It would be something that the district would decide on. So I'll use you as an example, Mr. Cucini. If we call Mr. Cucini and tell him that one of his children have been identified as a close contact, and they are not showing any symptoms, he would have the right as a parent, if we sign into this program, to say, I'd like to sign up for the test and stay program, and then we would put them on the spreadsheet. They would be tested according to the current information that I read today, that they would be tested twice within a period of time, not back-to-back days. If the rapid test shows up as negative, the student would be able to stay in class for the day, and we wouldn't have to exclude so many students from the school day from being in close contact. But again, it would be a parent choice on whether or not they want to have their child tested. We would not make that decision for them. So as more information comes out about that, we will share that with the public and our families as well.
If they said anything about the cost of the tests, is that a parent cost or a district cost? Or?
So all the information that we received, it's coming from the government agency. It's not going to cost the district any money or the parents any money at this point in time. And if that was, we put that in the communication as well. Okay? So it will not come out of our ESSER money at this time. Okay?
So PDE is not giving you guidance on what they think the governor's going to do?
We've not received anything recently. I think everyone is kind of on hold to see what the Supreme Court is going to decide on Wednesday.
Because he can pull that. January might not happen. He could change his mind, right?
Right. And they could put another mandate in place. They have that right to do those under certain guidelines, right? Our job is to follow those rules and mandates as they come to us.
So we'll have to adjust our safety plan?
That's correct. That's correct.
Any guidance from the SBA, Mr. Cole, on that?
Not right at the moment. You know,
have to make sure that.
Yeah. So it's very clear in our communication as well that if we do a mask optional, that is for the in-school sessions only. It is not with transportation. Vans and school buses are under federal guidelines, and so if the mask mandate gets lifted for schools, that does not mean that it's lifted for transportation, and they will still be required to wear a mask when riding on school transportation. That is not only to and from school, but that's also for our athletic groups going to and from games and competitions, as well as our band, if they attend an event or something. They're riding in school transportation. Thank you very much.
So
That's in that communication, ready to go.
If a parent opts out, they have to sign off on that?
Opts out of what?
If they opt out of wearing a mask, if it comes to that, they have to sign out on it.
Sign out of,
Sign off that they're not gonna.
no, if the mask mandate is lifted by the government, then we will make it optional for parents, and if your child shows up with a mask, then we will encourage them to continue to wear their mask, and if they don't, we will question them. But on transportation, there is no opt-out.
Yeah, I understand that,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm just saying, if they choose in school not to wear a mask, they have to sign off on it.
No, no.
Now, does that go for athletic events, like inside the gym and stuff? They still have to have a mask, correct?
At this time.
At this
At this
time, yeah.
At this time, right.
Can I jump in quick?
Sure,
Because
please.
You mentioned sports and masks. The Redskin Club has asked to consider putting up, they want to bring in food trucks for the winter sporting events. And they're talking about maybe getting a couple of little bistro type tables to set up in one of the hallways where people will be unmasked to eat, which is one of the exceptions within the current rules. You can obviously be unmasked to eat and drink because you kind of have to. But we talked about it administratively, and this was before the new variant started up, and we thought that it would be okay, but we wanted to mention it here because this, athletics and COVID were being discussed, so we wanted to put that out to see if anybody had any opinions on that.
Just that we could probably use the cafeteria area. The distance between the gym and the cafeteria is not really that big. They could probably use that.
Well,
I'm just thinking, you got the tables and distance and whatever.
Probably having a janitorial fee,
Yeah.
to clean the cafeteria
You
again.
don't want people on that end, they close that gate, you don't want people to be all over the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
we were figuring we would close the hallway off that runs to the pool.
Okay.
On the Brock
Yeah.
Street side there, so that way people could eat there if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Might want to wait till the mask order comes down, or doesn't come down. Might be a little premature.
Does anybody have any other questions or thoughts about COVID? Okay.
Well, one thing with COVID, so I know it's crazy and it's ever changing and our health and safety plan is fluid. And I just want to make sure that we are within our health and safety plan. I think a lot of times we get overly cautious and go above and beyond that sometimes, which hurts our kids because they're not in school. We have those times where kids are at an outside event not on the school and they may or may not have been a close contact, but we may or may not have been a close contact with Walmart. So we got to worry about our building, not everything that happens on the outside. So when we discuss this health and safety plan and all these new updates, I hope we just stick to plan.
That's correct.
Bradford County is still in high transmission.
Bradford County is still in high transmission.
You can't get around towers, unfortunately.
But our plan is only for in-school.
In school,
But we're
correct.
responsible.
And we're
That's
responsible, correct. So before we adjourn, I'd like to announce that we will be holding another executive session following this meeting. Talk about legal issues. So that said,
Move for adjournment.
have a motion, have a second? All in favor?